Welcome to the latest edition of the Shelton Bumgarner Show with the lovely Miss Christine and Hannah. We are going to have a little discussion here, a little bit of discussion about something not directly related to the topic at hand. First of all, Miss Christine and Hannah, please introduce yourselves. I'll introduce myself first. I am Shelton Bumgarner. I am the host of the show, and I'm a reporter, photographer, lyricist, and all-around curious guy in both senses of the word. And I love to talk. And Jaffrey's here. Okay, he changed his. Yay. Okay.
Yay.
Jaffrey, you changed your picture. All right. So, Jaffrey. Thank you for coming, Jaffrey.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can. Okay, the show has now begun. Let me, Daffy, for just a brief moment, let me introduce Miss Christine and Hannah, and then we'll come to you. Okay, ladies, Hannah first.
All right. Hi, guys. I'm Hannah Bro. I'm primarily a periscoper, but I found Blab recently, and as Shelton likes to say, Blab is addictive, and Periscope is just a habit. So I have been blabbing constantly. It's the problem. And so you can find me on all platforms at Dogtown Drive, and I just like to meet people and engage people, and I am exploring Blab, and I'm a feminist.
All right, Miss Christine, please give us a brief bio for us.
I'm originally from Philadelphia. I live in Florida. I work in dispatch. I get a lot of crazy stuff, do training, assistant supervising, things like that, finishing leadership. And I just finished a class about feminists. It was so funny that she mentioned that. That I blab all the time, so I'm sure a lot of you guys already know.
Okay, Jaffe, thank you very much for coming on the show. Give us, if you can, introduce yourself a little bit and explain your background and why. What's your interest in the conspiracies and the paranormal?
Well, thanks for having me, Sheldon. Appreciate it. Having the opportunity to be brought on board for this interview. I've been living in South Korea since 2002 and working here as a professional elf, former Canadian expat. And, I've been quite active lately on Facebook, social media here, just in the last week or so. Really enjoying it, what I've seen of things so far. And let's see, Twitter. I just started a Twitter account recently. That's been going well. I've been involved in a number of projects as of late. It's really kind of bizarre how it all kind of took off so quickly. I was part of an Art Bell fan group Facebook. Well, there's the Art Bell. It's called the Art Bell fan group, and basically because of my activity there and on other Art Bell groups, and I'm not sure if everyone knows who Art Bell is or not, but what happened was I ended up getting plucked, scouted, I guess, recruited to some extent, and brought on board. I ended up ultimately serving in a number of capacities within this new rival network to Art's Dark Matter digital radio network. And there was a lot of really heavy stuff that went down there actually when the one of the big wheels from Arts Network had a falling out with him and his longtime webmaster Keith Rowland. And I kind of got caught up in the middle of it. I try to stay as kind of hands off and neutral as possible as far as being too overly judgmental or what have you. I was just there to kind of just see what I could do to lend a hand, and as far as helping to get this network off the ground. So they brought me on the capacity of executive producer as what it all started with, and then there's a number of other things that came up. They just kept throwing me endless bones,
Yes, sir. Okay.
Yeah. And basically that's kind of what I got swept up in all that, and I'm here now, and I'd be more than happy to answer your questions or whatever they got to do, as far as the conspiracy and the paranormal is concerned.
Thank you very much, sir. That's an excellent introduction. Okay, for me, I'm curious what right in the modern era, what do you think is the biggest conspiracy that we should know about that perhaps the average person does not know about?
That's a good question. There's so many of them too, Well, let's see. Like, look where we are now. For example, the world's, they call them leaders. I got a problem referring to them in that way myself because I don't really follow those people too closely as far as they're it's like you follow like a head of religion or what have you. So but anyways, they're heads of state, I guess. A lot of them meeting in Paris. The last couple of days there's a big climate conference, I guess, and one of the things that they try to talk about and try to sell the public on is the idea that carbon emissions are contributing to what they would like people to believe is man-made climate change, man-made carbon-based climate change. Myself and many others, we see it a little differently in a sense that actually the reason that there are strange things that occur within the climate and the general weather patterns is because of it's man-made, all right, but it ties back to what some people know as the HARP program. And other various technologies.
What was the HARP program? What was the HARP program, sir?
Well, there we go. So Jesse Ventura actually covered it in his conspiracy theory series. People can check that out on YouTube if they like. It's freely available there. But that goes back. It's kind of, I guess, from what I understand, it's a Tesla-based technology. I think it's what's known as a scalar technology. And what they're able to do is they're able to literally now, if I'm just bear with me here once again. I am not Nick Begich. Nick Begich is the guy that you'd want to talk to if you wanted the definitive kind of rundown of the HARP program. Okay. It basically they shoot holes, they blast holes in the Earth's in the ionosphere out in the atmosphere, and it's from what I understand. And I can't really, unfortunately, I can't give you the rundown on that from a technical sense, but believe me, it's been, the way that they've, basically it's people that have conducted investigations and whatnot and approach things from a much more scientific standpoint. They have no doubt whatsoever that it does impact the climate. And for example, they've even linked that to hurricanes and things like Hurricane Katrina and all these other. I mean, there's been Sandy and even earthquakes. Believe it or not,
you're suggesting that this program known as HARP is affecting not only the weather but earthquakes.
Yeah, that's what is alleged. That's what people who've, like I said, who've investigated this project are saying. And I mean, it's even been they've had this discussed to a certain extent in front of Congress, and yeah, it does have that ability supposedly. But once again, this all ties back, from what I can gather and what my understanding, back to Tesla, the famous Nikola Tesla, the famous. He wasn't Hungarian. He was from, where the heck was he? He was from Bosnian, I believe it was a Bosnian mad. Well, like saw a mad scientist, a genius type, but he was brilliant, really. So. There's other things too, things like chemtrails and just various, like a wider kind of what's known as geoengineering. That sort of technology and that sort of program. And the leaders, once again, the people that are gathering, the heads of state that are gathering in Paris, they're not talking about this, at least not on the record. They're just mostly trying to sell people and convince them that it's all because of the CO2 emissions, this fundamental building block that we have, that's part of our very existence.
Sir, I think Hannah has a question.
Yeah, you said I think you said bioengineering, and that's
geoengineering.
Geoengineering. Yeah, I'm in Texas, and we've started to have earthquakes in North Texas. Would fracking fall into that?
There you go.
Category. Okay.
You just answered your own question. Yeah. I mean, that's what a lot of people, I mean, it doesn't take a Harvard, rocket scientist or NASA rocket scientist, someone, to figure that out. But they don't want you going there, right? They don't want people thinking like you're only allowed to basically, I mean, for crying out loud, just recently, France apparently has made any thinking outside of the box. They call them conspiracy theories, but really all it is critical thinking. People that they're turning off their TVs or just, just basically they're not parroting the official line, the official narrative, the official views on these issues. They're thinking for themselves, and they're asking questions that are they're outside of the box, and that's how you get the truth, is that you do that very thing. So yeah, it's good that you've seen that and ask yourself that question, because there could very well be a lot of truth to that. And yeah, it's a major issue, fracking, for sure.
Yes, sir. Miss Christine, do you have a question?
No, I was wondering what the beeping was as well. I was like, I can't figure it out either.
It's my husband. He's cooking.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, we thought I thought maybe that was the NSA was beeping us or something.
They're around. Believe me, they're around. They wouldn't miss this one, so they have to.
Yes, sir, Jaffe. Let's change the subject a bit. This is something that's kind of dear to my heart. Do you think that we've been visited by aliens?
Well, probably, yeah. I mean, maybe we might even be aliens. You know, that's been speculated too. That's been raised as a possibility that we, as humans, you know, people, they often like to think about, like, where did we come from? What origins do we have as a species? And perhaps we came from another planet. We were just kind of set down here, or brought here, or came here one day and just kind of let loose and given domain to the planet, and everything, everything has that's transpired since has been a result of that. So
Hannah has another question.
How do you feel about the space program? On that same topic, do you think that space exploration, the information that is disseminated, is legitimate to where we haven't discovered evidence that life could be somewhere else? Do you think that advancements in astrophysics have sorry, Michael just said totally moon landing was fake. So
What is your opinion on the space program? Was the moon landing faked? And if so, how?
Well, there are people that do say that the moon landing was faked. I myself, I'm kind of on the fence on that one. I'm open to the possibility that maybe there, there was said to be like several trips to the moon, but I mean, that doesn't rule out the possibility that there were staged and faked moon landings in addition, on top of that. So in one form or another. Now there's an interesting, I was hoping that this is one of the things that I could have done before we started the interview, but Stanley Kubrick, if you do a little bit of a search, I can even share the link with people later, maybe like post it on my Twitter or
yes, sir.
Facebook or I think Twitter is probably a better way of approaching things. Everyone here is tied into Twitter, I guess, for the most.
Yes,
but Stanley Kubrick, that's what's known as a mockumentary, but it's got to do with that whole issue of whether or not man did make it eventually to the moon. So I'll just tell you this one thing, that it's interesting because there's a couple minutes of the transmission, the initial supposed flight with Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. I guess it was Apollo 11. And there's a couple minutes there where they were landing, just getting ready to set down on the moon. And suddenly the transmission was cut for around a couple of minutes, around 2 or 3 minutes. They switched over to the medical channel. And in doing that, apparently the story is that what they ended up talking about is Neil Armstrong said, they're out there, they're watching us, and they're extremely damn big. Huh. And apparently some people speculate that in mentioning this, that he was referring not only to their craft, but also that I guess the size of these beings. I think it was more the craft, actually, now they come to think of it. But it's long been speculated and alleged by some that the moon is actually it serves as an alien outpost and base within our within our galaxy and neighborhood space. Neighborhood, as it were. So.
I have to ask, do Hannah or Miss Christine have any questions at this point?
Why the moon as opposed to any other planet, though? Why there?
Well, the moon's not a planet.
I know, but why the moon as opposed to like Mars or Venus? You know what I'm saying? That's...
Oh, are you talking about alien occupation or civilization, life?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people have said that Mars, actually, that there are aliens on Mars. And that, that's where kind of, I guess, what is it, the rover, Mars rover, and different NASA is kind of probing and, sending craft and out into space, venturing beyond, and working even quite shortly, I guess, on sending some people out into space. But let's not forget, too, I mean, other planets, sure, the moon, Mars, what have you, you name it. Those are the two that have come basically really big on the radar as far as discourse and discussion goes with regards to this issue of alien life, within our other, alien life other than ourselves existing here within our galaxy. But also, let's not forget, there's a lot of people talk about aliens being among us now. Yeah. There's what's known as the pardon me?
What do you think? Explain that. Talk about that.
There's a lot of talk about like the abductees and the hybrid program. That people are abducted on a regular from time to time, let's say, and that there's actually there's a breeding program that's in place that they largely, I guess, women, although I guess there's stories too as well as of males being taken into alien custody and poked and prodded and all kinds of tests run on them, and one of the things, of course, is the semen from the males, and the women, their eggs, of course, but also implanted, not only with like an alien type like a tracking device implant, but also impregnated and with an alien, so that there's a crossbreeding program that's taking place. Some people even speculated. We all know the story of Jesus, of course, and the miracle birth. Well, some people have speculated that provides a very a good answer as to what happened there on that front. So make of it what you will.
Okay, so you tell us, what do you think of the assassination of JFK? I know that you have suggested previously, before we started the show, that there was a conspiracy in his assassination. Can you give us your personal view of what happened to JFK and what was the conspiracy?
Just before we do that, is everyone following the text chat here on the side? People are
yes, they are.
I noticed Chad asked something about unique conspiracy theories in South Korea. And that's something I could speak to, but hang on. First, I'll address your question regarding JFK.
After that, you can address conspiracy theories. Yes, sir.
On JFK is that, Lee Harvey Oswald, I've been researching kind of, not just as a hobbyist, it's something as it's kind of a side interest. It's something that's very interesting. Of course, it was a major historical event, and it really, it impacted the world, America and the world in a pretty highly significant way. A lot of people say that if he wasn't killed, America never would have gone and been in Vietnam. That he was actually he was in the process of withdrawing troops and stepping things down in that region. And that's one of the things that contributed to his, that he had a lot of enemies. Okay. the mob, they doubled the Kennedy family, Joe Senior.
Yes, sir.
He double crossed the mob. That's well known. Kennedy had, kicked out, was it Alan Dulles, who I think was the head of the CIA at that time. He had fired him over the whole Bay of Pigs, debacle. And, there was the military industrialists that Eisenhower warned of in his farewell to the nation speech, that Kennedy was not their best friend either, frankly. And like I said, with the whole thing with Vietnam, and I mean, you even see that today, of course, with the way that war is so heavily pushed and promoted, on any basis or grounds that, that Washington, and I don't say America either, because it's not all of America, all Americans. A lot of Americans are, of course, they're fed up. They're at their wits' end and at the end of the rope as far as the racket that's being run, So, but with these launching these crusades and liberation campaigns in the Middle East and so forth. So, basically, JFK with Vietnam, that did not win a lot of friends within the military industrial establishment. And he was LBJ. There's another. I mean, it's not like one group did it. This group did it. That group. No, I mean, it's the same as 9/11. It just wasn't like this. Oh, is it this inside job with Cheney or or that group over there? Or those people. It was or just Israel and the Mossad on their own. It was all of them working together. The Saudis. No, it wasn't just the Saudis. It was them all. They all worked together. That's how a conspiracy works. You have these people, these parties, these interests that come together. They converge in a secretive, covert manner. Usually, because of their affiliation through intelligence, rogue intelligence agents and interests, and they work, to make these events. Basically, they executing these events, putting them together, as well as the planning and so forth, execution, as well as covering them up. So start to finish, yeah. But LBJ definitely is really, a lot of people don't stop to think about that. There was a big meeting that actually was held out on his ranch. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't his ranch. It was the guy named Clint Murchison, who at that time I believe was the owner of the Texas or the Dallas Cowboys, rather.
Yeah.
He was a very prominent Texas oil man, and with all kinds of high-level connections. J. Edgar Hoover was present at that time, as well as Dulles supposedly, and the whole number of really kind of heavy hitters at that time. So let's see. What is it? Not J. Edgar Hoover. Only two people. I'm not sure if anyone listening here or anyone in the chat room there, or
yes, sir,
yourselves know this, but there's only two people in the world who don't remember where they were the day that JFK was shot when they heard the news. Do you know who those two people are?
Who are those two people?
Richard Nixon and George H.W. Bush.
Oh God!
Wow,
that's wild.
It's one of those things. I know it certainly makes me think. It's like, well, geez, like if I was, I know where I was when Elvis died, and because it's like a big thing, and I know where I was when the space shuttle exploded. I guess the first time. I think it's exploded twice now, hasn't it? So, but yes. These traumatic, these intense, and especially you would think like these people that are kind of like the politics is their life, current events and world events, that's their life, but they just, for some reason, something as significant and monumental as that, they don't just kind of, it slips their mind. They can't quite remember when it happened. And this is not like Bush or Nixon where, they were asked these questions like when they were old, senile men. I mean, this goes years back, where the reporters and people that were just, curious, wanting to just, this very innocent questions, hoping that perhaps they'd offer some insight into the matter. And I guess in a roundabout way, they kind of did, because it's very, very strange, very odd.
Yes, sir. Hannah, I think, has a question.
Yeah, but I lost it.
Okay, never mind.
We have the questions from the chat over here about the conspiracy theories in South Korea.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
There's a couple. There's a couple good ones. I could have researched a little better actually before I, that specifically. I mean, there's so much ground to cover here, and I'm just basically just trying to field these questions and ideas best I can as they're thrown at me. So, but I'll tell you what. There's two. The two that really come to mind are the former, what some people say was the suicide of the former president Roh Moo-hyun, myself, and others. They don't. The guy. So, he jumped from a cliff. He fell from a cliff. Or he was pushed from a cliff. There were no other witnesses other than one, his bodyguard. And what did the bodyguard say? Well, he changed the story about 3 or 4 times. So,
yes.
Where he was, the times, what happened, what he saw, and he also, there was the suicide note was typed out. It was not handwritten. It was typed out, and there's this, on his computer, left on his computer, was not signed, and so there's just, it's just like, it's just things that just don't add up. But the official line that's just endlessly, repeated and parroted in the in the media, including international, overseas media. They just say, "Oh, he committed suicide. So that's really for me, because I've done like freelance journalism in the past. I'm doing a little bit of that again, but from a journalistic standpoint, that's just embarrassing. They wouldn't even entertain the possibility that he was actually murdered. Like there's no excuse. That's just inexcusable. And it's it's a real it's just he deserves more than that, as far as his legacy and his memory is concerned.
Let's state who you're talking about. The former president of South Korea was committed suicide, and you're suggesting that he may have been murdered by his
bodyguard. Yeah,
that was the official story, that he committed suicide. But I mean, even actually, it's surprising. I talk to Koreans about this matter from time to time, and even they, surprisingly, they and the Koreans, let me add, they don't really have the reputation as the world's most open-minded and flexible people.
That's an understatement. So do exist for
South Korea is like reason. It's North Korea light. It's really all it is. It's North Korea light. There's no democracy it's basically a fascist military dictatorship, with extreme foreign influence and pressures, that ends up shaping their policies and so forth. So, yeah, I mean, the CCTV surveillance is just mind-boggling, So, and that all came in really fast, really just kind of overnight, and a number of years ago, a real big kind of cash cow sort of industry for the people that flog those wares. So even in taxis, So I'm just not comfortable personally with that sort of stuff. But Nomu Hyun, yeah, but let me just say, there's also the issue more recently of, you've heard of the Sewol, the ship that sank.
Yes. Let's mention what this was. There was a large ship of carrying children in South Korea that ran aground and sank and killed 300 children, or killed a lot of people. And that was a national tragedy in South Korea, which to this day is kind of like their 9/11. And Daffy, what is your opinion on that?
Well, as far as that a particular event incident is concerned, you could talk about maybe the safety and communications end of things. I mean, that's where I would feel most comfortable, I guess, in pointing that out, rather than alleging any grand conspiracy. There are others, however, that have investigated, that have pointed to, because a lot of times, supposedly, when these events occur, that it's all done. Like, look at Paris recently. What day was it? Friday the 13th.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Friday the 13th. November, Friday the 13th. What does that all tie back to? The Knights Templar. Where were the Knights Templar based out of? Where was their central headquarters historically back in the early 14th century? Paris, France. So a lot of people there, there's videos you can find regarding this, people that have done their own analysis and offer their commentary, views, and opinions with regard to this. So timing and the astrology and numerology, very important, supposedly, for the people that orchestrate these horrific events. And let's not forget either, it's done to promote a political agenda. Anytime something like this rises or occurs, you can bet. Hillary Clinton's talked about it. Rahm Emanuel, they know the game. They know how it works. You cannot let any crisis just simply, slip away without having capitalized on it. That's what it's all about. Problem, reaction, solution. It's a simple dialectic process.
I have a question. Briefly, I have a question. How long have you been interested in the paranormal and conspiracy theories? And what prompted your interest in this subject?
I've always just been a very inquisitive person, I guess. And the thing is, I've always been kind of suspicious and leery of the official line. Not that I don't buy into the official line from time to time. I'm not a total nonconformist, but I also reserve. Myself, philosophically, I feel that I reserve the option and the right to question these things, and sometimes not, march to the beat of a different drummer or a different tune, and just kind of, it's like more like the road less traveled.
Was there any event that sparked your interest in this? Was there some sort of conspiracy or something that you wait a second? Do you think that there's more to this world than meets the eye?
JFK. That's been obviously because I was born in 1969. Do the math there if you want to work fine, as far as my age is concerned. But that's been on the radar. That's been on the map there for quite a while. But what the marijuana conspiracy and the drug war, there's a big one, and that always was kind of something that I reflected on and thought about and asked questions about, and for me it was like completely absurd and just bizarre. Why this would be that you are prohibited by law. That the state dictates to you what you are free to put into your body, whether it's ingesting, smoking, like eating, if you want to shoot it up, whatever it is, okay, that's your choice. It's your body, so snorting, whatever it is, ingredient X, so, and in my case, I'm just like, once again, just focusing on pot, weed.
Yes,
so, yeah. And the whole thing of and then going further investigating how hemp could actually save the planet. And from an industrial standpoint, not only that, but also now we've learned, it's come to light the last few years, it's like actually we've been lied to systemically, just routinely through the years, historically here, about the fact that it's not bad for you. It actually kills cancer. It shrinks cancer tumors. This is according to a very famous Harvard study that came out recently. Let me say, it is bad for you. It is bad for you. And this is what the authorities have done historically. They've gone out and sprayed the crops down in Mexico with a carcinogenic, like a defoliage cancer-causing agent known as paraquat. So people go down, they get their hands on this, the contaminated poison crops. They smoke it. And then they develop brain tumors. What do the authorities do? The authorities turn around and say, see, we told you. Yes. It was bad for you. You wouldn't listen. So they only tell you half the story. So that's an outrage. That's an outrage.
Miss Christine is laughing at the comments, not you.
I'm sorry.
Don't think we're laughing at it. We're not.
It's okay.
So let's talk about the paranormal. Tell us what's your view. And ladies, if you have a question, please just raise your hand and I'll let you in. Do you have a question, Hannah?
I do, and it's about pot, of course. But also I wanted to say I wanted to know more about the paranormal and Jaffe's experience there. But I had seen a study recently that said that the effects of marijuana on the lungs are no less. Sorry, I'm lagging because I'm getting all these notifications from Blab. That there isn't a standard taken into account. The study said that it wasn't any more damaging on your lungs than the average person, and they're not taking into account the average person and how much just regular pollution we get. Smoking lung is good as long as it's from pot, and that's. Yeah. I mean, there's anti-inflammatories, and that's science, and. But yeah, exactly where Shelton was going. Can we talk about the paranormal? That is my question.
Yeah. Yes, Jaffe. Can you talk about the paranormal?
He's lagging out. You guys see him?
Okay.
Yes, Michael.
Jaffe.
Science.
Okay, Jaffe, are you there?
I'm exhausted.
I'm gonna bounce you, Jaffe, and then you can come back.
Yeah. The whole thing with the marijuana, I just think it's all about money. That's what it boils down to. That's it. It's just money.
I got kicked out, man. Somebody booted me out of the room.
Oh no, we didn't. Yeah, you. There was a problem, and we booed you because we couldn't see you. We couldn't hear you.
So
we can hear you.
What the hell's up with that?
I don't know, sir.
Lag. Yeah.
You froze. Yeah, I apologize for the technical difficulty. Do you let's talk about the paranormal. Like what is when it comes to paranormal, what do you believe is the chief paranormal issue of our day?
Well, let me just first say that actually I've had a few paranormal type experiences. Nothing overly major, and I tend to be a pretty rational guy, believe it or not. So I know it might not seem that way to some people that are listening and that hear what it is that I have to say from But on
sorry, let me stress that this is the Blab community at work, and we tend to be a little bit silly at times. But we're listening. I'm listening to you. We're not judging you. We're just curious as to what you have to say. Continue.
Well,
Yeah.
well, for example, and by the way, I just shared. There's a song there that I actually wrote a number of years ago. That I shared the link in the room there. People are interested in checking out. It's called "Hemp for Victory." So if anyone is wants to give it a listen, and if you like it, share it with your friends. So I had a couple. For example, my father, my family had a very close encounter a number of years ago. I put in a feature article together on this, and I'm waiting to publish it. So, but yeah, they had a very this giant. Do you want me to tell you the UFO story? Or do you want to hear about?
Yes, please. We want to hear your UFO story. Yes, definitely.
Bigfoot or what?
Let's hear.
By the way, I was on Art Bell. Believe it or not, I actually made it through. Art Bell brought me on board the other night, so I actually managed to make it through. He took my call on Skype, and I got to chat with him and his guest for a couple minutes. And the story I told there's a Bigfoot story that I shared with them, as well as this story of this girlfriend that I had back in the day, and this really really bizarre experience that they had while careening off the road in the process of heading to their imminent deaths. Is what it seems. So I'll save that. But you want to hear the UFO story? Is that right?
Yeah, we definitely want to hear the UFO story.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Well, this is about 25 years ago. My dad and sister and stepmother were headed out. It just gotten dark. They were headed outside to light up the campfire in the fire pit there, just in front of the house, and roast some hot dogs.
Yes.
They had not been drinking. No one was high, smoking weed or nothing. Nothing. So very stone cold sober. Suddenly, my dad noticed off in the distance to the north, the northeast, along the horizon in front of the mountains, there was this horizontal slit. I believe it was a horizontal slit. It might have been vertical, but it was a small slit that appeared, in that direction, and in the sky. The slit appeared, and from out of the slit emerged a beam of light. It descended toward the ground in a conical fashion.
Yeah.
So so it's like a cone kind of descending from the slit to the ground, and from out of this, the light, the cone of light, came an object. The object, you couldn't quite make it at the time. The object slowly began making its way over towards the family homestead, and eventually made its way directly over the barn. And during which point he recognized it to be a giant flaming sea type object.
Okay.
So this was about 100 feet is what he estimated. 100 feet in its diameter, and it ended up. He walked towards it with his arms outstretched. What I refer to in the feature story is arms outstretched in supplication. Like an angel from the sky or something. Who knows? But obviously, the witnesses, my sister, stepmother at the time, and dad. I mean, like as anybody would, they were quite taken by the whole thing, and it was a serious, like really jaw dropping kind of experience. He stood there in front of it, just beneath it, watching this giant flaming sea for about it's like for about. A couple minutes. It was a couple minutes is what he said. Over the barn. It was about 100 feet over the barn, just about 20 meters, 60 feet away from him, and staying away from the barn. And then it just slowly started moving back to where it had first appeared and disappeared. That's the story that he told me. So
you not to interrupt, but you also have a Bigfoot story.
But hang on, let me just finish with the UFO thing.
Okay,
really interesting.
okay, it is interesting. I was just gonna.
No, there's a little something more, because this is where it gets really interesting. The next week, the Canadian military, because presumably, there have been multiple sightings within the region. His hadn't been the only one. You hear about this a lot of times. There's multiple sightings. So the Canadian military took it upon themselves to issue what I can only see as a cover story, frankly. It was along the lines of, J. Allen Hynek's swamp gas sort of, conclusions that he so famously, kind of blundered with back in I guess it was like the mid to late 60s. But basically they claimed that with their cover story that was that was published in the regional newspaper that it was nothing to be concerned about. If you saw anything out of the ordinary, don't worry. It was simply that we were in the area shooting off radon canisters into the atmosphere, and that's all it was. So there you go. That's our story, and we're sticking to it, right? So once again though, like I think it's embarrassing. Like, come on, that's what a radon canisters. Like, what? That doesn't make sense. Like, come on, that's pretty pathetic. So anyway,
I wonder if that ties into. I remember growing up, there always being commercials for get your house tested for radon.
I think
that's all. I just wonder that.
I don't know. I think I'm maybe wearing some radon right now. It's a primary a ingredient. They use it as a substance in a lot of clothing, right? So.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it'd be my first pick necessarily. I'd rather wear a hemp, So but that's the way.
I think we all would rather wear it. So you also have a Bigfoot story.
Yeah, the way I presented it to Art the other night was not totally accurate. I explained it to him that the way I kind of set it up for him was that there was these young native girls. This is the version I heard. I actually heard it from, I think it was from some Indians while I was out hitchhiking in central interior British Columbia back in the mid to late 1990s. I was out on the road because I was working on I was basically like a traveling musician, sort of troubadour type, and I would hitchhike, and they picked me up. They told me a story about these. It's a story I'd heard before. It's kind of funny because I'd heard this story before actually too. Can't remember the first time exactly, but they told me these native girls were out with being led along a path out in the woods by a Catholic nun, sister of the cloth. And when suddenly from out of nowhere, this giant, hairy, ape-like being emerged and snatched one of the girls in its arms and ran off into the bushes, never to be seen again. Of course, they were they were this shocked and surprised beyond belief. Couldn't understand what had just happened. It was traumatized everyone. The next year, who shows up back at the school or that region where the community was based? I think it might have been someplace. If anyone's heard of Bella Coola, that might have been the place. But anyways, like I said, this isn't exactly as I've been researching. I haven't been able to find this story again. I found another story which was quite similar. So that's where I think kind of things got a little mixed and muddled up. But anyways, she showed up next year with a baby in her arms, a little hairy, half human, half ape type being, and then they got rid of it, I guess is so the story I heard. They got rid of it shortly after that because they were it was so horrible and disgusting. But actually, the story that you can find, it's Seraphine Long. If you type that into your search engine, SEREPHINE Long, and you type in Bigfoot Sasquatch, you can see her story. So it's similar, but not entirely the same. Obviously, she was out like berry picking, gathering roots back in I guess it was the early part of the 20th century, out in an isolated area I think it was in British Columbia. A lot of sightings in British Columbia, Bigfoot sightings supposedly. So, and that same thing, this hairy beast, kind of giant ape-like creature emerged out of nowhere, grabbed her, and took her off, ran with her for miles over hills and just going on forever over all kinds of rough terrain and bush and scrub and so forth, and ended up. It was a young Sasquatch apparently too. Ended up taking her to a cave where she lived with the young Sasquatch and his parents for the next year or so. She became quite sick, and becoming quite sick, she ended up. The Sasquatch, I think, took her back to where it originally abducted her from, and she had a baby. The baby was a part of that. That was a part of the deal as well too. So the idea there was that the Sasquatch had impregnated her, but then the baby died shortly after. So, I mean, make of it what you will. I don't know. It's just this story I've heard, and whether it's true or not is anybody's guess. It would be interesting if there is someone out there who at some point can add more details to the story, because it is quite a strange one, of course.
So what is your opinion of Art Bell? Art Bell is well known. For those of you who don't know who Art Bell is, he's well known in the conspiracy theory world, and he was at one point quite prominent. He was sufficiently prominent that he became almost mainstream. What do you think of Art Bell?
I'm glad he took my call the other night. I was quite pleased. I was a little surprised because, as I said earlier, the opening of the discussion/interview here, that actually I was brought on board to play a rather prominent role within this rival upstart network, Leo Ashcraft's Mutual Broadcast Network. Long story there. I'm working on several feature articles and exposés because there was a lot of interesting things that went on behind the scenes. And because of the way that I was treated in the end by that individual and you can say organization, but really he was the leading force in that network. That I'm more than happy to share that with the world so that they can see what sort of a duplicitous individual he really is. You know?
Okay,
so as a lot of people suspected the whole time.
That's enough. Yeah, that's enough.
Art Bell.
Yeah, do you think Art Bell? So you think he's duplicitous?
No, I was talking about Leo Ashcraft.
Okay, you know about Leo Ashcraft. Okay.
I don't know. I've heard. Look, man, I've heard different stories about Art. I'm not going to get into the specifics. People can use use their imagination. I mean, look, let's put it this way: cult of personality. Okay, people are only human. You know, we've all got our issues. We've all got our weaknesses, our foibles, our quirks. You know, we've all got, a lot of people have anger issues, problems with the way they handle their emotions and so forth. So, but as far as like on a philosophical level, like I enjoy Art's show. I enjoy, what he's done. I appreciate what he's done, how he's contributed to things over the years. At the same time, I do believe and feel that to a certain degree, he is and does serve in the capacity and role of a gatekeeper. Okay, yes. So that he's very professional. He's very skilled at what he does, and he's able to basically steer people away from maybe going a little further into finding the truth on certain subjects. One in particular that comes to mind is this whole climate change issue, and that he has not lately done anything about HAARP or chemtrails. He used to do this on a much more routine basis with his new show. And then even the show before that, a number of years ago, from what I recall, he did not touch it at all. So that's a little odd. I really wish he would. A lot of people wish he would. And, it's just something where it's like, and at the same time, he promotes the whole idea, it seems, and he doesn't say anything against it, but rather he advocates and backs this whole idea of carbon-based, man-made climate change, which really, if you look at it, it's a mouthful, and it's quite easy to deconstruct if you take the time to do it, break it down, so it's but I mean, I don't totally dislike the guy. I mean, like I said, he might not take any more calls from me if he hears what I just said about him, but I mean, look, man, he's, like I said, he's only human. Okay. I mean, as we are all, so like, he's not perfect. And what the problem is within the Art Bell community, the fans, there's too much of the ego, kind of like the fawning over the individual and worshiping him as some like a godlike person almost, and it's just too much, this cult of personality. It's just taking things too far.
So let's talk about the so do you believe in ghosts and stuff like that? Is that something that you believe in?
Okay. Yeah, it's funny you should ask, because I've actually seen ghosts now, or what people might call ghosts. And what they are exactly, like I said, I try to be skeptical, open-minded. I have no idea what they are. It's like, is my mind playing tricks on me? What's going on here? I've woken up. And several times since like around, I would say about the mid-1990s, and I've seen these apparitions. The only time I've seen these apparitions is around my bed, in front of my bed, beside my bed. They've been these apparitions of light, I guess you could describe them as. They take the form of a human being. They're not solid. It's just simply they're immaterial, and it's like they take a certain shape and appearance, and some of them are dressed in like older style type clothing. Some of them are more, you get a kind of a more friendly vibe from in seeing them, and others seem a little more kind of adversarial perhaps, and not so, basically that they're more maybe antagonistic or adversarial. And so basically they're just, and it happens around the time. It's happened about, I guess about 7 or 8 times now. And usually whenever I've been on the verge of falling asleep or basically drawn out of my sleep. But whenever it's happened, it's basically I've been drawn out of my sleep quite suddenly, and I've seen these things standing in front of me for like maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 seconds, and I'm like rubbing my eyes like, what the hell's that? Like what, seriously, what, WTF,
Okay.
So.
Let me ask the ladies if they have any questions. I know that they've not had a chance to ask any questions. Miss Christine, do you have any questions?
Did he have a personal, besides that, like, what about demons? Like, do you believe that just ghosts, like demons, other spirits, or just ghosts?
I believe we're all possessed.
In what way?
All the time? Or
no, we're all possessed. See, the word saint, it means it's tied into the word sanitation.
Yeah,
which is it means clean. You people are insane, or insane or sane. Sane is the sanitation, meaning, and saint meaning clean. So,
Hannah, we can hear you. Hannah, someone is clicking a little too loudly.
It's like,
oh, I'm sorry, it's me.
Yes,
someone said there was
you're doing it a little bit too loudly, Hannah.
Apologies. Someone said there was a wonderful woman prop battle, and I was like, "Well, shoot, we're not battling."
No.
So
yes.
I'm good. I'm done tapping.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so you were saying, Jeff? Yeah, I apologize.
I've totally lost my train of thought now. That was so weird. Demons, and ghosts. Yeah, I believe that we are all spiritually possessed, and that if you look at, there's a classic, very important classical Greek word known as eudaimonia. I'll try to find it here for you if I can on Wikipedia. Let's see now. It basically means literally the good demon within. You, as in like euthanasia, euphoria, that sort of thing. Daimonia. And demon within. Yeah. Now, the way that they try to spin things here on Wikipedia is Greek word commonly translated as happiness or welfare. So, however, human flourishing has been proposed. Has been proposed by who, I wonder? As a more accurate translation, bullshit. That's not it at all. Look at it. Like, let's get real here. Let's open our eyes and think of what's going on here. They try. Language is so politicized. So politicized. The way we use our language, the way it's spoon-fed and presented to us. People, not enough people stop to think and deconstruct things and see the way that terms and language are used as a weapon in a lot of ways, and that a lot of words and language that we use heavy emotional. People, like, you say a word like anti-Semitic or terror, and immediately people have this kind of, it's not a very, with terror especially, not a very positive reaction.
Okay, Jeffy, maybe Hannah, do you have a question?
Well, I like the. I'm sorry. There actually was a question. Marley put a question up that was that I think is a good. Good debatable question. Jaffe, why do you think it is that you've seen a UFO, Bigfoot, and apparitions? People go their entire lives without seeing so much as a gay Republican. Why you?
I take that as that's a joke. I have not seen UFOs. I have not seen Bigfoots. My family, my dad and a couple family members claim to have seen a UFO of some sort. Very bizarre story. I have not. The Bigfoot story was just something that I was sharing, just to kind of repeating and sharing with people. It's a historical, kind of like a legendary kind of folk tale.
Yeah.
Now the ghosts, yes, but I don't know what they are. I'm not, I just very strange phenomenon. Like I said, these light apparitions, these beings of light. It's and some of them have a more positive, for friendly vibe, and others more a little maybe perhaps hostile. So,
yeah.
Gay Republicans, yeah, there's a lot of them, isn't there? It's amazing. So many are closeted, and then they and that's so hypocritical, that whole business. Geez, how hypocritical. And the drug thing too. The Republicans.
Unicorn.
Yes, they also they just do it in private.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's wrap up a little bit. So give us some closing words about this topic. What should we take away from this about the conspiracies and the paranormal?
Oh man, just keep. It's like okay, we've got a. And by the way, I didn't tell you this, but I've been blocked on Facebook. I've been blocked from posting. It's a good thing I remember this before we went off air. But I've been shut down and blocked from sharing any more messages on any groups on Facebook. I did a little bit of promotion last night for our show here today. I only posted in like 2 or 3 different groups, and they blocked me, man. I am blocked for the next week.
Huh.
I'm blocked for the next week, man. So I was not too happy about that. And that's why I'm branching out. There's let me just throw this in, a couple plugs for a couple other social networking and information sharing platforms. Minds.com. If people want to check that out, supposedly, so it's minds.com. They've just undergone a recent upgrade. Things are looking great. They've really managed to make a lot of headway there and picking up a little bit of steam. Really, I'm really happy with the way things are going there. So scene.is is another one that was heavily promoted about a year ago. Minds came into the picture shortly after that. Another one that I would avoid is Informed Planet. I had an experience with those people over there, and I'm not going to go into details, but I just was not too happy or pleased with the treatment that I received over there. And there's no reason people can't just learn. People can't. We can get along with each other. We just got to make an effort to just respect people. Be cool. Like, there's no reason to fight with this. People don't have to be fighting all the time. Come on,
right.
And that sort of pissing matches and what have you.
Yes, sir.
But I'm going to share my link here, the Fringe Alternative News Network.
Yes, that would be great. Please, if you could, that would be great. And ladies, Hannah or Miss Christine, if you have any closing words, any questions, we have about 5 minutes left. So whatever you have to say, make it fast.
Okay, I can talk really quick. I'm good at this. I have actually a paranormal experience that happened to me, and because I'm in Texas, and so often we have people will cite chupacabras. They'll see we saw a chupacabra, and I was out picking mushrooms in Bastrop.
Mushrooms.
Just picking mushrooms like you do, and. That's sort of just picking mushrooms. And I said I'd talk fast, and I see that. Thank you. And we look across. We hear these dogs barking, and we're out in the country in Bastrop. There's a kennel of dogs, and everybody's going nuts. And we look, and we see this creature bounding toward us, and it looks like. Yeah, it looks like a giant dog, and that was okay. And then it stood up.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and I can't unsee that. So yeah, Ashia is right. Like I can't unsee that. I am convinced that whatever it was not it was either a dog that could run on its hind legs or like a something like. So I believe that it's very possible that there are things out there that we don't know about and haven't been explored yet.
Yes. Okay. I will. Let me make some final remarks. First of all, thank you, Jaffe, for your time.
Yes,
thank you. Thank you very much for talking to us. It's been very informative. You still there, Jaffe?
I am. In fact, I'm looking for a quote here from Shakespeare. I'm hoping that I can add this before we sign off here. So just go ahead.
Okay. Yes, sir. Hannah, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for participating. And Miss Christine, thank you very much for your time. You have to say or not, just for the audience.
Or not.
Because that is Miss Christine's catchphrase, or not. And also to fix it, Jesus.
I can't even. Yes, fix it, Jesus.
Yes. Thank you very much for everyone participating and tuning in. And this has been very informative. And I hope that Jaffe will become a member of the Blab community. And I know he does not like to show his face, but if I ever have a Blab and he wants to jump in, I'm more than
definitely
let him jump in. And
thank you. I just found the quote, folks. The last thing I'm going to say here, Hamlet, Shakespeare, and this ties into a lot of what we've been talking about, and what what was just said here recently in the Blabcast. Hamlet, and therefore as a stranger, give it welcome. There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. Hamlet, Act 1, Scene 5.
Yes, sir. That is it. That is it for today. I will end the cast. Thank you, everyone, for participating.